and thank you for watching this series where Miss Shelley, Miss Kaylee, and I, Miss Leah, get to share our favorite books with you from the library. The book I'm going to share today has a very special place in my heart. My mom actually bought me a copy of this book from the Columbus Metropolitan Library in Columbus and brought it home to me. It was a discarded book from that library, and as soon as we read it the first time, I fell in love with it. I love A Gentle Giant, and being who you are is so important and vital to your happiness, and this book just epitomizes those themes. And maybe you recognize the title, The Story of Ferdinand, from the movie that recently came out based on this story. This is called The Story of Ferdinand by Munro Leaf. Here we go. Once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads, but not Ferdinand. He liked to just sit quietly and smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot out in the pasture under a cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in its shade all day and smell the flowers. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. Do you ever feel like you just need to go be alone? Be by yourself? Some people are really good at that. Some people need it. Why don't you run and play with the other little bulls and skip and butt your head, she would say. But Ferdinand would shake his head. I like it better here where I can just sit quietly and smell the flowers. He knows what makes him happy, doesn't he? His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she let him just sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. Look at that change in Ferdinand from when he was a little calf. All the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to sit just quietly under the cork tree and smell the flowers. One day, 5 men came in very funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. Let's count these men in funny hats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All the other bulls ran around snorting, butting, leaping, and jumping so the men would think that they were very, very strong and fierce and pick them. Ferdinand knew they would not pick him, and he didn't care. So he went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down. He didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on the nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Uh-oh. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him, and that is just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Look at his face. I wonder what's going to happen. Wow, did it hurt? Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around puffing and snorting, butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him, and they shouted with joy. Here was the largest and fiercest bull of all. just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. What do you think? Is that what Ferdinand wants? So they took him away for the bullfight day in a cart. What a day it was! Flags were flying, bands were playing, and all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. They had a parade into the bull ring. I'm going to pause and give a disclaimer. I'm going to try my best with these Spanish words, but I have never learned Spanish, so forgive me if I mispronounce them. First came the banderilleros with long sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick the bull and make him mad. Next came the picadores, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him madder. Next came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought he was very handsome and bowed to the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword that was supposed to stick the bull last of all. Then came the bull, and you know who that was, don't you? Ferdinand. Can you see him peeking his head out right here? He looks so small. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all the banderilleros were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers in all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat down quietly and smelled, just like he always did. He wouldn't fight and be fierce no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled. And the banderilleros were mad, and the picadores were mad, and the matador was so mad he cried because he couldn't show off with his cape and sword. So they had to take Ferdinand home. And for all I know, he is sitting there still, under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. He is very happy. Can you see him in the silhouette of the tree? The end. If you want to read Ferdinand again, you can check it out from the library. Thanks for watching.